Ada's knees hit the cold marble floor with a soft thud that echoed through the living room. Her 7-month pregnant belly pressed uncomfortably against her thighs as she knelt, hands trembling at her sides. Above her, Chinwe stood with crossed arms, a satisfied smirk playing on her glossy lips, while Emeka, her husband of 3 years, watched from the leather sofa with cold, detached eyes. "Lower," Emeka commanded, his voice cutting through the thick silence. "I said bow your head properly. Show some respect to the woman I truly love." Ada's breath caught in her throat. The baby kicked hard against her ribs, as if protesting this humiliation. Tears blurred her vision, but she refused to let them fall. Not yet. Not in front of them. "Emeka, please," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Please what?" Chinwe's sharp laugh filled the room. "You think begging will change anything? Look at you, pathetic. No wonder he came to me." Before we continue with this shocking story, welcome to TeeJay Stories, your home for the most dramatic, emotional, and jaw-dropping African tales. If you love stories about betrayal, revenge, and justice being served, then you're in the right place. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Drop a comment below telling us what you think Ada should do next, and share this video with someone who loves real African drama. Now, let's go back to Ada's story and see how this situation began. The morning had started like any other Wednesday in their upscale Victoria Island apartment. Ada woke up to an empty bed, the smell of Emeka's expensive cologne still lingering in the air. The digital clock on the nightstand read 6:47 a.m. He'd left early again, the 3rd time this week. She struggled to sit up, her pregnant belly making even simple movements feel like major operations. The baby was due in 2 months, but already Ada felt like she was carrying the weight of the entire world. Not just the physical weight of pregnancy, but the emotional burden of a marriage that was slowly suffocating her. Walking to the bathroom, she caught her reflection in the full-length mirror. At 28, she should have been glowing with the joy of impending motherhood. Instead, dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her once bright smile had faded into a permanent expression of worry. Her Ankara nightgown hung loose on her frame. She'd lost weight everywhere except her belly, too anxious to eat properly. The apartment was beautiful, she had to admit. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Lego skyline, Italian marble floors, designer furniture that cost more than most people earned in a year. Emeka made sure everyone knew he was successful, a senior manager at one of the big banks, driving a Range Rover Sport, wearing Swiss watches that could pay for a whole car. But what good was all this luxury when she felt like a prisoner in her own home? Ada made her way to the kitchen, craving the ginger tea that helped with her morning nausea. That's when she heard it, Emeka's voice, low and intimate, coming from his home office down the hall. "I miss you too, baby," he was saying, his tone completely different from the cold indifference he showed Ada. Yes, I'll be there. 2 o'clock. Don't worry, she won't suspect anything." Ada's hand froze on the kettle. Her heart began to pound so hard she could hear it in her ears. "You know I can't wait to have you all to myself," Emeka continued, a soft laugh in his voice. "This whole situation is temporary. Very soon, everything will be different. I promise you, Chinwe. Very soon. Chinwe." The name dropped into Ada's consciousness like a stone into still water, creating ripples of realization that spread through her entire body. She'd heard that name before, seen it flash on Emeka's phone screen late at night when he thought she was sleeping. Heard him mention it casually as, just a colleague from work. But colleagues didn't make your husband's voice sound like honey. Colleagues didn't make him promise that everything will be different. Ada's legs felt weak. She gripped the kitchen counter, fighting the wave of nausea that had nothing to do with pregnancy. The baby kicked again, and she placed a protective hand over her belly. Whatever happened, she had to stay strong for this child. "I love you too," Emeka said softly before ending the call. Ada quickly turned on the tap, pretending to be busy as she heard his footsteps approaching. When he appeared in the kitchen doorway, he was already dressed in one of his sharp Tom Ford suits, his phone in hand, not a trace of the warmth she'd just heard in his voice. "You're up early," he said flatly, not even looking at her as he grabbed his car keys from the counter. I couldn't sleep," Ada replied, her voice shakier than she wanted it to be. "Emeka, can we talk? About us? About the baby coming soon?" He finally looked at her, and the coldness in his eyes made her want to cry. "What's there to talk about? I'm providing for you, aren't I? You have everything you need. What more do you want?" "I want my husband," she whispered. "I want the man I married. The one who used to hold me and tell me I was beautiful. The one who was excited about becoming a father." Emeka's jaw tightened. "That was before you became so needy. So emotional. Always crying, always complaining. Do you know how exhausting it is to come home to that every day?" The words hit her like physical blows. "I'm pregnant with your child, Emeka. I'm carrying your baby, and you're treating me like I'm a burden." "Maybe you are," he said coldly, then walked toward the door. "I have meetings all day. Don't wait up for me tonight." The door slammed shut, and Ada finally let the tears fall. She sank into one of the kitchen chairs, her whole body shaking with silent sobs. How had her life become this? She'd been so happy when Emeka proposed 4 years ago. He'd been charming, attentive, promising her the world. Her mother had warned her that he seemed too controlling, but Ada had dismissed it as Amaka being overprotective. Now she wished she'd listened. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Ada tried to keep busy, but her mind kept replaying that phone conversation. Chinwe. Who was she? How long had this been going on? And what did Emeka mean when he said everything would be different soon? By evening, Ada's anxiety had reached a breaking point. When she heard Emeka's key in the lock around 8 p.m., she steeled herself for a confrontation. She had to know the truth. But Emeka wasn't alone. The moment he walked through the door, Ada knew something was wrong. His expression was harder than usual, almost defiant. And then she appeared, a woman Ada had never seen before, tall and elegant in a fitted red dress, her makeup perfect, her confidence radiating like she owned the place. "Ada," Emeka said with a cruel smile, "I'd like you to meet Chinwe. My girlfriend." The words hung in the air like poison. Ada felt the room spin, her hand instinctively going to her belly as if to shield her unborn child from this nightmare. "You're, what?" she managed to whisper. Chinwe stepped forward, her heels clicking on the marble floor. "You heard him. Girlfriend. The woman he actually loves. The woman he wishes he'd married instead of you." Ada looked at Emeka, desperately hoping this was some kind of sick joke. But his expression remained cold and unmoved. "Emeka, please. I'm pregnant. How can you do this to us?" "Us?" Chinwe laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "There is no us anymore, sweetheart. Look at yourself. You're just a baby incubator at this point. Do you really think he still wants you?" "That's enough," Ada said, trying to summon some dignity despite the tears streaming down her face. "Both of you need to leave. This is still my home too." Emeka's eyes flashed with anger. "Your home. Everything here is mine, Ada. The apartment, the furniture, even that expensive maternity wardrobe you love so much, all mine. You have nothing without me. You are nothing without me." And that's when he said the words that would change everything. "Now kneel." Ada stared at her husband in disbelief. "What did you just say?" "You heard me," Emeka replied, his voice dripping with disdain. "Kneel. Show Chinwe the respect she deserves as the woman of this house." "I'm your wife," Ada said, her voice breaking. "I'm carrying your child. Have you lost your mind?" Chinwe moved closer, circling Ada like a predator studying its prey. "Wife? That's just a title on paper, darling. But me? I'm the one he calls when he needs real comfort. I'm the one who makes him happy. You're just the mistake he's stuck with until the baby comes." The words cut deeper than any knife could. Ada felt her knees weaken, but she refused to give them the satisfaction of seeing her crumble completely. Her hand protectively cradled her belly, feeling the baby kick as if sensing her distress. Emeka, I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but this ends now, Ada said, trying to keep her voice steady. I want her out of our home. We can talk about whatever problems we have, but not like this. Not with her here. Emeka stood up from the sofa, his tall frame suddenly intimidating as he approached her. You don't get to make demands anymore, Ada. Those days are over. You see, I'm tired of pretending. Tired of coming home to your tears and complaints. Tired of acting like I care about this little domestic setup we have. Then why did you marry me? Ada whispered, tears streaming down her face. Why put a baby in me if you hate me so much? Because I needed a wife on paper, he said coldly. For my promotion at the bank, for my image, for my family's expectations. You were perfect, quiet, obedient, from a decent family. But love? I never loved you, Ada. I thought I could pretend, but Chinwe showed me what real passion feels like. Chinwe smiled triumphantly, moving to stand beside Emeka. She placed a possessive hand on his arm, and he didn't push it away. Now, are you going to kneel like he asked, or do we have to make this more difficult? I will never kneel to you, Ada said, finding a spark of defiance somewhere deep inside her. Never. Emeka's expression darkened. Then maybe you need some time to think about your position in this house. Go to the bedroom, Ada. Now. This is insane. Now. His voice boomed through the apartment, making Ada flinch. The baby kicked hard, and she felt a sharp pain in her side. She needed to get away from this madness, to think, to figure out what to do. With as much dignity as she could muster, Ada turned and walked toward the bedroom, refusing to run despite every instinct screaming at her to flee. Behind her, she heard Chinwe's laughter and Emeka's low murmur, but she couldn't make out the words. Once inside the bedroom, Ada locked the door and leaned against it, her whole body trembling. How had her life spiraled into this nightmare? Just 6 months ago, Emeka had seemed excited about the pregnancy. He'd come to the first ultrasound appointment, held her hand, even smiled when they learned they were having a girl. But something had changed after that. He'd become distant, cold, working late almost every night. Now she knew why. Ada moved to the window, looking out at the Lagos night skyline. Somewhere in this city was her mother, Amaka, probably worried because Ada hadn't called her in 3 days. She'd been avoiding her mother's calls, not wanting to admit that her marriage was falling apart. Amaka had been skeptical of Emeka from the beginning, sensing something calculating behind his charm. My daughter deserves a man who sees her as a treasure, not a trophy, Amaka had said on the wedding day. Watch him carefully, Ada. Some men are very good at wearing masks. Ada wished she'd listened. But she'd been so in love, so eager to start her own family, so determined to prove she could make it work. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Another message from her mother, Ada, I'm worried. Call me please. Are you okay? Ada's fingers hovered over the keyboard. She wanted to call her mother, to pour out everything that was happening, but shame held her back. How could she admit that she'd been so wrong? That her marriage was a complete disaster? That her husband was flaunting his mistress in their home? Before she could decide, she heard voices rising in the living room. Curiosity and concern drew her to the door. She pressed her ear against it, listening. When are you going to get rid of her? Chinwe was asking. I'm tired of sneaking around, Emeka. I want to be your wife, not your side piece. It's complicated, Emeka replied. She's pregnant. If I kick her out now, her family might cause problems. Her family? Chinwe scoffed. From what you told me, they're nobody special. Her mother runs some small business in Lekki. What can they do to you? You're a bank manager, you have connections, money. They should be grateful you married their daughter at all. Ada's blood ran cold. Was that how Emeka had described her family? As nobodies? Her mother had worked hard to build her business from nothing, had given Ada and her siblings everything they needed. Yes, they weren't wealthy like Emeka's family, but they were respectable, hard-working people. Just be patient, Emeka said. Once the baby is born, I'll have options. Right now, I need to play this carefully. Options? Chinwe's voice sharpened. What kind of options? Legal options. I've already spoken to a lawyer. If I can prove she's an unfit mother, maybe postpartum depression, maybe neglect, I can get custody of the child and send her packing with nothing. The prenup she signed makes sure she can't touch my assets. Ada's hand flew to her mouth, stifling a gasp. He was planning to take her baby? To paint her as unstable and steal her child? You're brilliant, Chinwe purred. That's why I love you. Always thinking ahead. Of course. I didn't get where I am by being stupid. Ada is weak, emotional, easy to manipulate. By the time I'm done, she'll leave on her own, grateful for whatever crumbs I throw her way. Ada felt like she couldn't breathe. The man she'd married, the father of her unborn child, was plotting to destroy her completely. This wasn't just about an affair, this was calculated, deliberate cruelty. Her phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't her mother. It was an unknown number with a text message. Mrs. Ada, this is Gloria from your mother's office. Your mother asked me to check on you. She's been trying to reach you. She's worried. Please call her. Ada stared at the message, her mind racing. Her mother. Amaka. The woman who had raised her to be strong, who had built a successful business from nothing, who had always protected her children fiercely. Maybe it was time to stop hiding. With shaking hands, Ada typed a response to Gloria. Tell my mother I need her. Please. Tell her to come tomorrow morning. It's urgent. The reply came quickly. She'll be there first thing. Are you safe? Ada glanced at the locked bedroom door. For now. Just tell her to come. She set the phone down and moved to the bed, lying on her side with her hand on her belly. The baby shifted, and Ada whispered to her daughter, I'm sorry, little one. I'm sorry I brought you into this mess. But I promise you, I will not let him take you from me. I will not let him win. Outside, she could hear Chinwe and Emeka laughing, the sound grating against her raw nerves. Let them laugh tonight. Let them think they'd broken her. Tomorrow, when her mother arrived, everything would change. What Emeka didn't know, what he'd never bothered to find out because he was too arrogant to care, was that Amaka was not just some small business owner in Lekki. Ada's mother had connections, resources, and a power that she kept carefully hidden from casual observers. And when Amaka discovered what Emeka had done to her daughter, there would be hell to pay. Ada closed her eyes, exhaustion finally overtaking her. Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough. The morning sun had barely risen over Lagos when Ada heard the security buzzer. She'd been awake for hours, having spent most of the night lying in bed, her mind racing through everything she'd overheard. Emeka had eventually gone to sleep in the guest room with Chinwe, a final humiliation that Ada had forced herself not to think about. Now, hearing that buzzer, Ada's heart leaped. Her mother was here. She quickly got out of bed, splashed water on her face, and tried to make herself presentable. Her eyes were swollen from crying, but there was no hiding that now. She unlocked the bedroom door and hurried toward the entrance, her pregnant belly making her movements awkward. Through the intercom screen, she could see her mother standing at the building's entrance, dressed in an elegant navy blue kaftan with gold embroidery, her signature coral beads around her neck. Even on the small screen, Amaka commanded presence. At 53, she was still striking, tall, dignified, with the kind of posture that made people instinctively step aside when she walked into a room. Ada buzzed her in, her hands trembling with relief and anxiety. What would her mother say? What would she do when she found out everything? The wait for the elevator felt eternal. Ada stood by the apartment door, wringing her hands. Behind her, she heard movement, Emeka emerging from the guest room, his hair disheveled, wearing only his pajama bottoms. Who's at the door this early? he demanded, his voice rough with sleep. My mother, Ada said quietly. Emeka's expression shifted from annoyance to something else, concern, maybe even fear, though he tried to hide it. Your mother? You called her? She was worried about me. I told her to come. Ada, you had no right, Emeka started, but the doorbell cut him off. Ada opened the door, and there stood Amaka. For a moment, mother and daughter just looked at each other. Then Amaka's eyes took in everything, Ada's swollen face, her trembling hands, the way she seemed to fold into herself like a wounded bird. Ada, Amaka said softly, but her voice carried the weight of 1,000 questions. Ada couldn't hold it in anymore. She burst into tears, and Amaka immediately pulled her into her arms, careful of her pregnant belly. It's okay, my daughter. Mama is here now. Everything will be okay. Over Ada's shoulder, Amaka's eyes locked onto Emeka, who stood frozen in the hallway. The look in Amaka's eyes was not one of anger or rage, it was something far more dangerous. It was the cold, calculating gaze of a woman who knew exactly how to dismantle an enemy. Emeka, Amaka said, her voice pleasant but with an edge sharp enough to cut glass. Good morning. Mrs. Okafor, Emeka replied, trying to regain his composure. This is unexpected. Ada didn't mention you were coming. A mother doesn't need an invitation to check on her pregnant daughter, Amaka said, releasing Ada but keeping one arm around her shoulders. Especially when that daughter has been avoiding her calls for days. It makes a mother wonder what she's trying to hide. Before Emeka could respond, Chinwe appeared from the guest room, wearing one of Emeka's shirts and nothing else. She stopped dead when she saw the scene at the door, her eyes widening. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Amaka's gaze moved from Emeka to Chinwe, then back to Emeka. Her expression didn't change, she didn't shout or gasp or show any shock. She simply looked at them both with the kind of disdain one might show to something unpleasant on the bottom of a shoe. I see, Amaka said quietly. How interesting. Chinwe, either very brave or very stupid, decided to speak. And who are you supposed to be? Amaka turned her full attention to the younger woman, and even Chinwe seemed to shrink under that gaze. I am Amaka Okafor. Ada's mother. And you are? I'm Chinwe. Emeka's girlfriend. She said it with false confidence, trying to stake her claim. Girlfriend, Amaka repeated, as if tasting the word. How modern. Tell me, Chinwe, do your parents know you're here? Do they know you're standing in another woman's home, wearing another woman's husband's shirt, while that woman is 7 months pregnant? Chinwe's face flushed. This is between me and Emeka. It's none of your business. None of my business? Amaka's voice remained calm, but there was steel underneath. When you disrespect my daughter in her own home, it becomes very much my business. Emeka stepped forward, trying to take control of the situation. Mrs. Okafor, with all due respect, this is my home. What happens between me and Ada is our private matter. I'd appreciate it if I what? Amaka interrupted smoothly. If I left quietly? If I pretended not to see what's happening here? If I let you continue to humiliate my pregnant daughter? She smiled, but it was not a kind smile. No, Emeka. I don't think I'll do any of those things. She guided Ada further into the apartment, moving toward the living room with the confidence of someone who owned the place. Emeka and Chinwe had no choice but to follow. Amaka settled Ada onto the sofa, then stood in the center of the room, her hands clasped elegantly in front of her. She looked around the apartment, at the expensive furniture, the designer decorations, the floor-to-ceiling windows, and something flickered in her eyes that Emeka couldn't quite read. This is a beautiful apartment, Amaka said conversationally. Top floor of Victoria Towers. I believe these units go for about 40 million naira. Very impressive, Emeka. You've done well for yourself. Emeka straightened, his ego responding to the praise despite the situation. Yes, well, I work hard. I provide the best for my family. Your family, Amaka repeated. And yet, here stands a strange woman in your home, while your pregnant wife cries. That's an interesting definition of family. Look, Mrs. Okafor, Emeka started. No, you look, Amaka cut him off, and suddenly her voice had changed. The pleasant facade dropped away, revealing something much more formidable underneath. I know what you did last night. I know what you said. I know about your little plans for after the baby is born. Emeka's face went pale. I don't know what Ada told you, but... Ada didn't have to tell me anything, Amaka said coldly. Did you really think I wouldn't have my daughter's back? That I wouldn't make sure she was protected when I noticed her calls becoming less frequent, her voice becoming sadder? The implication hung in the air. Ada looked at her mother in shock, suddenly understanding. Mama, you didn't. Amaka glanced at her daughter with a slight smile. A mother protects her children, Ada. Always. She turned back to Emeka. So yes, I heard your conversation last night. Every word. Your plan to declare my daughter unfit, to take her baby, to leave her with nothing while you play house with your girlfriend. Chinwe's confidence had completely evaporated. She looked at Emeka, confused and scared. Emeka? What is she talking about? You said Ada was nobody, that her family had no power. Shut up, Chinwe, Emeka snapped, his mind racing. He looked at Amaka with new wariness. You're bluffing. You can't prove anything. Amaka pulled out her phone, tapped the screen a few times, and then Emeka's own voice filled the room. Once the baby is born, I'll have options. If I can prove she's an unfit mother, I can get custody of the child and send her packing with nothing. The color drained completely from Emeka's face. Amaka pocketed her phone and smiled. Now, shall we have a real conversation about what happens next? Word count, 1,000 words. At. Good work. Now proceed to Chapter 4, just 1,000 words. Chapter 4, Truths and Accusations. The silence in the room was deafening. Emeka stood frozen, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Chinwe had gone completely pale, backing away slowly toward the guest room as if she could disappear from this nightmare. That's illegal, Emeka finally stammered. Recording someone without their knowledge. You can't use that for anything. Amaka tilted her head, studying him with amusement. Can't I? Perhaps you're right about the legality. But tell me, Emeka, does your bank's board of directors care about legality when they hear their senior manager is plotting to steal a child from its mother? Does your church care? Do your parents care? Do your neighbors in this expensive building care? She moved closer to him, her heels clicking on the marble floor. You see, I don't need a court of law, Emeka. I just need the court of public opinion. In Lagos, reputation is everything. You know this. One phone call to the right people, one social media post from the right account, and your perfect life crumbles like sand. You wouldn't dare, Emeka said, but his voice lacked conviction. Wouldn't I? Amaka's eyes were cold. Try me. Touch my daughter again, humiliate her again, and find out exactly what I'm capable of. Ada watched from the sofa, amazed at the transformation in her mother. This wasn't the gentle woman who had braided her hair as a child, who had sung lullabies and made pepper soup when she was sick. This was someone else, someone powerful and dangerous. Chinwe finally found her voice. This is crazy. Emeka, tell her about us, about our plans, about how we're going to be together. Amaka turned her attention to Chinwe, and the younger woman actually took a step back. Oh, Chinwe. Sweet, foolish Chinwe. Did Emeka tell you about his plans for you too? What are you talking about? Chinwe looked at Emeka, confusion written all over her face. Mrs. Okafor, don't, Emeka started, panic creeping into his voice. But Amaka continued, relentless. Tell her, Emeka. Tell her how you've been seeing her for 8 months. Tell her how you've also been seeing Ngozi from accounts for 6 months. And Blessing, your secretary, for 4 months. Should I go on? The room erupted. Chinwe's face twisted with rage and humiliation. What? Emeka, is this true? You said I was special. You said you loved me. She's lying. Emeka shouted, but his eyes betrayed him. Am I? Amaka pulled out her phone again. I have receipts, as the young people say. Hotel bookings under your name. Restaurant bills. Text messages. Would you like me to share them, or shall we all pretend I'm making this up? Chinwe's hands were shaking. You bastard. You told me Ada meant nothing to you. You told me we were going to be together. I gave up everything for you. I turned down a promotion because you said you didn't want me traveling. I lied to my family about where I was spending my time. Chinwe, baby, listen. Emeka tried to reach for her, but she slapped his hand away. Don't touch me. Don't ever touch me again. Tears were streaming down her face now. I was so stupid. So stupid to believe you actually cared about me. Ada felt an unexpected flash of sympathy for the woman who had humiliated her just hours ago. Chinwe wasn't the enemy, she was another victim of Emeka's manipulation. Amaka's expression softened slightly as she looked at Chinwe. Take some advice from someone older, my dear. A man who cheats with you will cheat on you. Always. You were never going to be his wife. You were just entertainment. Chinwe grabbed her purse from the guest room, tears flowing freely now. She looked at Ada, and for a moment, their eyes met. I'm sorry, Chinwe whispered. I didn't know. I thought. She couldn't finish the sentence. She just ran out of the apartment, the door slamming behind her. Now it was just the three of them, Amaka, Ada, and Emeka. Emeka's face had gone from pale to red with rage. You had no right to do that. No right to come into my home and destroy my relationship. Your relationship? Ada finally spoke, her voice stronger than before. Is that what you call it? Emeka, you forced me to kneel in front of her. You plotted to take my baby. You've been lying to me for months, maybe longer. And you're upset about your relationship? You don't understand, Emeka said, running his hands through his hair. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. The expectations. My job, my family, everyone always wanting something from me. I needed an escape. So you tortured your wife? Amaka said coldly. Poor you, so pressured that you had to betray the woman carrying your child. Emeka turned on her, desperation making him reckless. Who are you to judge me? You're just some small business woman from Lekki. You think your little recordings scare me? I have lawyers, connections. I can bury you and your daughter. Amaka smiled, and it was terrifying. Small business woman. Is that what you think I am? Oh, Emeka. You really didn't do your research, did you? She walked to the window, looking out at the Lagos skyline. Tell me, what do you see out there? Emeka frowned, confused. Buildings. What does that have to do with anything? That tall one, 3 blocks down. The blue glass tower. Do you know who owns it? Amaka didn't wait for an answer. I do. And the shopping complex next to it. And the land where they're building that new hotel. Emeka's expression began to change as understanding crept in. You see, my late husband was a very successful man. He left me quite comfortable when he passed 10 years ago. But I didn't just sit on his wealth. I invested it. Grew it. Built an empire that you, in your arrogance, never bothered to discover. She turned to face him. The Okafor Group. Perhaps you've heard of it? We have holdings in real estate, hospitality, import-export. We're valued at over 20 billion naira. And I control it all. Emeka's face had gone white again. Ada stared at her mother in shock. She knew her mother was successful, but this? That bank you work for? Amaka continued. We have accounts there. Substantial accounts. I wonder what would happen if we moved them. I wonder what your bosses would say when they found out you've been abusing one of their major clients' daughters. You can't, this isn't. Emeka couldn't form a coherent sentence. I can, and I will, Amaka said simply. Unless you do exactly what I say. Starting now. Emeka sank onto the sofa, his hands covering his face. The arrogant, controlling man from last night had completely disappeared, replaced by someone who looked small and defeated. Ada watched him, feeling nothing, no satisfaction, no pity, just emptiness where her love for him used to be. What do you want? Emeka finally asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Amaka sat down gracefully on the chair across from him, crossing her legs. What I want is very simple. Ada is going to move out of this apartment today. She'll stay with me until the baby is born and for as long as she needs after that. Fine, Emeka said quickly. Take her. I don't care. I'm not finished, Amaka said sharply. You will provide full financial support for Ada and the child, not because of any legal obligation, but because I will be watching. You will not contest custody. You will not spread rumors about Ada being unstable or unfit. In fact, you will tell everyone that the separation was mutual and amicable. And if I don't? Emeka asked, though he already knew the answer. Then I destroy you, Amaka said simply. Your job, your reputation, your family's standing in society, all of it gone. I have the resources and the connections to do it, Emeka. Don't test me. Ada stood up slowly, her hand on her belly. She walked over to stand beside her mother. I have something to say too. Both Emeka and Amaka looked at her. Ada took a deep breath, feeling strength flowing through her that she didn't know she possessed. I've spent months making myself small for you, Emeka. Months crying, wondering what I did wrong, trying to be good enough for you. But I realize now, I was always good enough. You were the problem, not me. Her voice grew stronger with each word. You're a coward. A weak, insecure man who needed to make me feel worthless so you could feel powerful. But you're not powerful. You're pathetic. Emeka's jaw clenched, but he said nothing. This baby, our daughter, she's going to grow up knowing her worth. She's never going to kneel before anyone the way you tried to make me kneel. She's going to be strong, confident, and she's going to know that no man, no matter how much money he has or how charming he pretends to be, has the right to diminish her. Ada felt tears on her cheeks, but they weren't tears of sadness anymore. They were tears of release, of freedom. And you're going to see her grow up from a distance, always knowing that you could have been part of something beautiful, but you chose cruelty instead. Amaka reached up and squeezed her daughter's hand. Pride shone in her eyes. I'll have my things packed and out of here by this evening, Ada continued. You can keep your expensive apartment, your fancy furniture, all of it. I don't need any of this to be happy. I never did. Emeka looked up at her, and for the first time, Ada saw something that might have been regret in his eyes. But it was too late for regret. Can I still see the baby? He asked quietly. After she's born? Ada and Amaka exchanged glances. Amaka nodded slightly, leaving the decision to her daughter. We'll see, Ada said finally. If you prove you can be a decent father, if you can respect boundaries and treat me with basic human dignity, then maybe. But you'll have to earn it, Emeka. You'll have to prove you've changed. I can do that, Emeka said eagerly. I will. I promise. Your promises mean nothing to me anymore, Ada said coldly. Only your actions matter now. Amaka stood up. We'll be back this evening with people to help pack Ada's belongings. I trust you'll be cooperative? Emeka nodded, defeated. Yes. I'll be out. I can't watch this. Good, Amaka said. One more thing, Emeka. The prenup you had Ada sign? My lawyers will be reviewing it. If there are any clauses that are unconscionable or were signed under duress, we will challenge it. Just so you know. Emeka's eyes widened, but he didn't argue. He'd lost, and he knew it. Amaka turned to Ada. Come, my daughter. Let's get you somewhere safe. As they walked toward the door, Ada paused and looked back at the apartment one last time. This place that had been her prison for so long suddenly looked different, smaller, less impressive. She'd been so dazzled by the luxury, by Emeka's status and wealth, that she'd failed to see the bars on the cage. Never again. In the elevator going down, Ada finally broke down completely. Amaka held her as she sobbed, for the marriage that never really was, for the dreams that had died, for the time she'd wasted trying to please a man who was incapable of valuing her. I was so stupid, Mama, Ada cried. You warned me. You told me something was wrong with him, and I didn't listen. Hush now, Amaka soothed, stroking her hair. You're not stupid. You loved him. You wanted to believe the best in him. That's not stupidity, that's hope. That's kindness. Don't let him take those qualities away from you. How did I not see it? Ada whispered. How did I not know he was this kind of person? Because people like Emeka are very good at hiding who they really are, Amaka said. They show you what you want to see until they have you trapped. But you're not trapped anymore, Ada. You're free. They reached the parking garage where Amaka's driver waited with her Mercedes. As they drove away from Victoria Towers, Ada looked back one last time through the rear window. Somewhere up there, in that expensive apartment, Emeka sat alone with the consequences of his choices. And for the first time in months, Ada felt like she could breathe. Where are we going, Mama? Ada asked. Amaka smiled. Home, my dear. We're going home. Ada leaned her head on her mother's shoulder and closed her eyes. Home. It sounded like the most beautiful word in the world. The baby kicked, strong and insistent, and Ada placed her hand over her belly. You're going to be okay, little one, she whispered. We both are. Your grandmother is going to make sure of it. And as Lagos traffic moved around them, Ada felt something she hadn't felt in a very long time, hope. 3 months had passed since Ada left Victoria Towers. She sat in her mother's spacious Lekki home, her newborn daughter sleeping peacefully in her arms. Chioma, the name meant good God in Igbo, had arrived 2 weeks ago, a perfect, healthy baby girl with Ada's eyes and a fierce cry that made everyone smile. The house was nothing like Emeka's sterile, minimalist apartment. Here, there was warmth, family photos on the walls, fresh flowers in every room, the smell of her mother's cooking wafting from the kitchen. Ada's younger siblings visited often, cooing over the baby, making her laugh with their antics. This was what a home should feel like. Ada looked down at Chioma's tiny face and felt overwhelming love. You saved me, she whispered to her sleeping daughter. Before you were even born, you gave me a reason to fight. She's beautiful, Amaka said, entering the room with a tray of tea and biscuits. Just like her mother. Ada smiled. The past 3 months had been hard. There had been crying, therapy sessions to process the trauma, moments of doubt when she wondered if she'd made the right choice. But with each passing day, she'd grown stronger. Her mother had been right, she wasn't trapped anymore. She was free. Mama, I got an email from Emeka's lawyer this morning, Ada said, shifting the baby gently. He's agreed to all the terms. Full child support, no custody battle, and he signed away any claim to contest the revised financial settlement. Amaka nodded, satisfied. Good. As it should be. He wants to meet Chioma, Ada continued quietly. He's been asking every week. Do you think I should let him? Amaka sat down beside her daughter, studying Chioma's peaceful face. That's your decision, Ada. Not mine, not his. Yours. What does your heart tell you? Ada was quiet for a long moment. I don't love him anymore. I don't even hate him. Nothing. But Chioma deserves to know her father, if he can be a good father to her. That's not about him or me, it's about what's best for her. Then you have your answer, Amaka said gently. Set boundaries, protect yourself and your baby, but if you think he can be a decent father, give him supervised visits. See how he does. Actions, not promises, remember? Actions, not promises, Ada repeated, the mantra that had gotten her through the darkest days. Her phone buzzed with a message. Ada checked it and smiled. It's from Chinwe. Amaka raised an eyebrow. The mistress? Former mistress, Ada corrected. We've been talking. She apologized, really apologized, not just words. She's in therapy too, working through why she accepted being treated that way. She sent me a picture of her new apartment. She got that promotion she turned down for Emeka and transferred to the Abuja office for a fresh start. Good for her, Amaka said, and she meant it. She was a victim too, in her own way. Ada typed a quick response to Chinwe, congratulating her on the new place. It was strange, finding common ground with the woman who had humiliated her, but both of them had learned the same painful lesson. Emeka was very good at making people feel special while destroying them from the inside. Ada, Amaka said, her tone becoming more serious. I need to tell you something. About Emeka. Ada looked up, concerned. What happened? He lost his job at the bank. Not because of me. I kept my promise not to interfere unless he went back on his word. But apparently, the board discovered he'd been embezzling small amounts to fund his lifestyle. His expensive gifts, the hotels, the affairs, he'd been living beyond his means for years. Ada's eyes widened. He's being prosecuted? The bank chose not to press charges to avoid scandal, but he's been blacklisted in the financial sector. Last I heard, he's working at his father's auto parts business in Onitsha. A significant comedown from senior bank manager in Lagos. Ada should have felt satisfaction, but she only felt sad for the waste of it all, for what could have been if Emeka had just been honest, just been kind. What about the apartment? He had to sell it to cover debts. Apparently, he'd taken loans against it that I wasn't aware of. Amaka shook her head. The man was living a complete lie, Ada. You're well rid of him. Chioma stirred in Ada's arms, making small mewing sounds. Ada adjusted her, and the baby settled again. I know, Mama. I thank God every day that you came when you did. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't. You would have found your strength eventually, Amaka said firmly. You're my daughter. You have steel in your spine, even when you don't feel it. I just helped you remember. Ada felt tears prick her eyes, good tears this time. I want to go back to school, Mama. Finish my degree. I only had one semester left when I married Emeka, and he convinced me I didn't need it. But I want to finish. I want Chioma to see her mother as someone who never gave up. Amaka's face lit up with pride. Then you'll finish. We'll make it work. I'll help with Chioma, and you'll get your degree. What do you want to study? Business management, Ada said with a small smile. I was thinking, maybe I could work with you. Learn how you built the Okafor group. One day, I want Chioma to inherit something real, something built with integrity. I would love nothing more, Amaka said, pulling both Ada and Chioma into a gentle embrace. You're going to be magnificent, my daughter. You already are. Later that evening, as Ada rocked Chioma to sleep, she looked out the window at the Lagos sunset painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples. Somewhere in this city, Emeka was dealing with the consequences of his choices. Somewhere else, Chinwe was starting fresh in Abuja. And here, in her mother's home, Ada was building a new life, one based on truth, strength, and love. She thought about the woman she'd been 3 months ago, kneeling on that cold marble floor, broken and humiliated. That woman seemed like a stranger now. The Ada who existed today would never kneel for anyone. She would never shrink herself to fit someone else's idea of who she should be. Your grandmother taught me something important, Ada whispered to her sleeping daughter. She taught me that true power isn't about money or control. It's about knowing your worth and never letting anyone convince you otherwise. I'm going to teach you that too, Chioma. Every single day. The baby sighed in her sleep, and Ada smiled. Tomorrow, she would register for her final semester of classes. Next week, she would allow Emeka his first supervised visit with Chioma. Next month, she would start working with her mother's company. But tonight, she would simply hold her daughter and be grateful, grateful for her mother's love, grateful for her own strength, grateful for this second chance at life. She had been forced to kneel, but she had risen stronger. And she would never bow again. Thank you so much for watching this episode of TeeJay Stories. If Ada's journey touched your heart, if you felt her pain and celebrated her strength, please show your support by smashing that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to TeeJay Stories for more powerful African tales about love, betrayal, justice, and redemption. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. Drop a comment below. What did you think of Amaka's power move? What would you have done in Ada's situation? We love hearing from you. Share this video with your friends and family. Everyone needs to hear stories about strong women who refuse to be broken. And remember, never let anyone make you feel small. Know your worth, and never kneel for anyone who doesn't deserve your respect. See you in the next story. God bless you. Folded hands, red heart.